So a few months ago I did an eBay lot unboxing, and I've had this Gamling for a while now. Link in the description and up there for that. And as I said back then,
the sword which you'll need putting in where he is.
And that time is now. Because before I turn him into a ghost, I need to find him a sword. So from that job lot, I also have Hammer, who does have his sword, and their arms do match up. And unfortunately for Hammer's hand, within the theme of my Army of the Dead, he can't be a part of it because he didn't make it to Dan Harrow, both in the films and the book. Hammer isn't really shown in the best light of the movies. He's not as shit as the film portrays him as, which I shall now read an excerpt from. In the midst of the field. Hang on, let me try a narrator kind of audiobook voice. In the midst of the field, before the Hornburg, 2 mounds were raised, and beneath them were laid all the riders of the mark who fell in the defence. Those of the East Dales upon one side, and those of the Westfold upon the other. In a grave alone, under the shadow of the Hornburg, lay Hammer, captain of the King's Guard. He fell before the gate. Now that's a much more badass of an end, but like the movies, I'm not going to show him the same respectful end as the books did. The hand chop off went well, Gamling's hand not so much, on that first attempt there, slipping and committing too much trust in my initial soaring spot, so I then just used clippers and filed it down like a sensible person, then a bit of green stuff to fill the gap. And pinning the hand on. So mixed with the glue and the chopping what was involved, it's not the cleanest, but he's going to be a ghost soon and their armour doesn't have to be in top-notch condition. So this is Gamling without his banner, so some green stuff and a spear later will change that. So I'm using the Hail Caesar Macedonian models with their pikes because they're long enough without having to scrape a hand off. I then made some adjustments to the outstretched left hand, because as it comes, it is in more of a you have to be this high to ride this mummock. First making room between the thumb and the fingers, and readjusting the fingers down and eventually around at the wrist. Again, it will scrape the model a bit, but that will only add to the Army of the Deadness. I did that until he looked like he was actually holding it. To painting with my usual method, this time though getting only one coat out of the very last asthmatic sprays of my white primer spray paint from Poundland. So when that was dry, I went over with some white again, just out the pot. So the usual sword and chainmail and lead belcher, and Balthazar gold for the van braces, greaves and buckles. I do like using these hero metal models in this army because there's extra detail on those armour pieces. And then the green wash all over. So I've done this quite a bit now over this Army of the Dead project, playlist plug. And to get the darker shade of green I have to do a few coats, so it's probably quicker just to paint normally and highlight or over and dry brush the raised areas of ghostliness. But what I've found is that to create the random spectral, the shade does take that controlled paint strokes out of it and replaces it with doing random sploshes of wash. There's a bit of control with moving it around and where it pulls or doesn't. It might be a waste of green shade, but I like how it ends up. So this time with the base, instead of adding the mix after painting, I had made it up earlier and pushed him in to solidify his position. It took him out for it to dry, to later glue him in. There was a smidge of slot showing on the side, so I gave it a snip and a bit of black paint to hide it. because it was already solid and dry brushed grey, I went straight onto the mist, which I then proceeded to mostly do out of shot. And there he is, Gamling with Banner, who joins Eomer as a fallen captain of Rohan, now warrior of the dead. Works much better than my quick and shit, snip off the spear point and quick green stuff flag I had before, but don't worry, he'll eventually get a new banner, eventually. But for now, before and after montage. And now for the proper ghostly montage. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you haven't already, and you liked it, I guess, and if you didn't, that's fine. And leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. And of course, and as always, subscribe. And if you like what I'm doing here, if you like the channel, share it with any fellow hobbits or those who dwell in Middle Earth. See you on the next one.
It's quite cool.